Welcome to Our Hometown, the show where we take an in-depth look at the people and organizations that make this area unique. On this month's show, we'll have Yvonne Hatcher with the Brunswick Transit System. Then Belville Mayor Mike Allen and Town Commissioner Joe Theault will tell us about the Brunswick Riverwalk project. Finally, Shallotte Mayor Walt Eccard will talk about the Shallotte Waterfront and Mulberry Park projects. So stay with us for the next half hour as we explore our hometown. My guest is Yvonne Hatcher. She's Executive Director of the Brunswick Transit System. Yvonne, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You have a great story to tell. It's interesting, and I think our viewers will learn a lot in the next several minutes. Brunswick Transit System is a transportation service for Brunswick Countyans.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You're a nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit. We are. That is one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have, that we're a county department or some other governmental entity, but we're actually a nonprofit agency. Okay.
How many riders do you have each month, for example?
We average about 4,000, between 4,000 and 4,500. We provided over 50,000 rides last year.
Wow. Now, I know in talking to you before the program, you offer contract services to several groups, which comprise a great bit of your workload. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We have 3 large contracts with the Community College, Brunswick Senior Resources, and Department of Social Services. We also work with some smaller agencies with transportation for their clients, nonprofit agencies, as well as other civic organizations in the county. And then we have general public service that's open to anyone. Right.
So your contract work is the steady and predictable work. And then for individuals, are they able to call and schedule an appointment?
Absolutely. We do all of our transportation requests by reservation. Okay. It does require a 48-hour notice, but that 250 or more trips a day, we have to coordinate all of those trips between 16 vehicles and almost 900 square miles, because we do serve the entire county.
So if I'm living down in Ocean Isle and I have to be let's say I have to be at the college a certain day and time. I call a day or two in advance.
Absolutely.
And there's someone, a scheduler there, that will schedule my ride.
We have a full-time scheduler that is exactly what she does. And if somebody calls and it's during a day or time that we're not available, she works with them to help them either change their appointment or to find a better time, because we also offer what's called curb-to-curb service, where we actually come to your house and drop you off at the door of wherever it is you're going. So you don't have to walk to a bus stop or anything like that, but that also makes scheduling a little more complicated.
Sure it does, absolutely. What are the costs involved? I want to be a rider, and I'm still at Ocean Isle, and I still have the need to call you up.
For our general public riders, in-county trips are $3 each way, and that is anywhere in the county that you want to go.
Wow.
We also go into Wilmington, into New Hanover County on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's $5 each way. Most of that transportation is medical appointments, but we do have people that go to the Greyhound station or to the Social Security office, or even for shopping, especially this time of year, people that want to go and spend a couple of hours at the mall.
Sure.
So it's very diversified.
So do I pay cash?
You pay cash. We do have tickets, and that's generally for people that are either buying the tickets maybe for a child or, over 16 to ride alone, or they're buying multiples and they don't want to have to worry about keeping correct change. Our drivers don't always have correct change. So for our regular riders that know how many days they're going to ride, they may call and order so many tickets and write a check. But generally, pay the driver cash just like you would if you were stepping on a bus in Wilmington.
Sure. This is such a great service, and I want our viewers to know, just as I'm going to say several times during this interview, this is a great service.
Thank you.
But you also led me to my next question, and that is a question as to children. Do they need to have child safety seats to ride on the bus?
Absolutely. Being a nonprofit agency and not a fixed route service means that we have to adhere to all of the DMV laws that maybe a big bus in Wilmington or Charlotte or somewhere is actually exempt from. All of our passengers have to wear seatbelts.
I was about to ask you that. Good.
Absolutely. Everyone wears a seatbelt, and all of the children have to have the correct child seat, whether it's a booster seat or a regular seat, and we don't provide those. So that is one of the questions that our scheduler asks when you call to schedule a ride. If you're bringing a child, that person's aware they have to bring their own seat.
Now, we've kind of touched upon this, but what are some of the most common destinations?
Well, medical appointments for our general public riders is number one.
Sure.
But we also take people shopping, the community college. Our contract clients are going to the community college, the senior centers, medical appointments. We take people shopping. We take people to hair appointments. We actually also take people to visit family members in the community. You have somebody at home and a sister or a parent or a child lives here but they don't have a car. They no longer have to wait on that person to come see them. They can call and schedule a ride and go visit.
Now,
nice.
I had the mistaken assumption that most of your individual riders are senior citizens. That's not necessarily true, though, is it?
It's not, and I would say that's our number two misconception of the system in the county. Because we do have such a public view in the county, at the school, at the community college, and the senior centers, most people don't realize that it's open to the public, or if it is, they think they have to be a certain age or something to ride, and it's not. When we first started about a decade ago, the majority of our riders were seniors, but now it's very diversified. We take people of all ages to work, to school, shopping, anywhere.
Very interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
I understand you're moving your headquarters to Shallotte.
That is our most exciting news for this year and for the upcoming year. We are currently located in Bolivia, and again, that sometimes is confusing that we're not a county department, but we also don't have a lot of public identity in the community because we're tucked around at the complex. We are going to be moving into a building on Main Street in Shallotte. Hopefully by January 1st. We've got some work to do that we want to take care of in the building, but we're very excited about it.
How can our viewers get in touch with you?
Well, they can call our office anytime, 253-7800. We have an answering service if it's nights or weekends, which we stress to people in case they need to cancel a ride or leave us a message. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have a website, and they can reach us through that website through email addresses, but most of the common questions can be answered on that website, and that is brunswicktransit.org.
It's a great story that you have. I know that our viewers will have benefited a great deal from this. Thank you, Yvonne, for being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I do too. My guests are Mike Allen, the mayor of Belville, and the commissioner who is with him today, Joe Theault. Gentlemen, welcome to our show.
Thank you for allowing us to be here today.
You have a great story to tell of some recent developments in Belville, and it relates to your Riverwalk concept. Am I calling it by its right term?
Yes. When I became mayor and got on the city council, I realized that we had a park in the middle of our town that we didn't own.
Right.
So I was talking with Commissioner Brault one day, and we were looking at it, and we tried to find out why we gave it to the county. And Joe came up with a new vision, new concept, and then I went to our county commissioners and asked them if I could get my park back for the town of Belville. And we sat down, and through their gracious negotiation, and we'd love to thank all of the county commissioners because
absolutely,
we showed them our concept. Joe did a presentation to them; they liked it, and they gave the park back to the town of Belville.
So the commissioners conveyed the property back to Belville.
Yes.
And you guys and other leaders in the county, in the Belville, are putting together this Riverwalk concept. Now, I was there for your grand opening, if that's what I could call it, a few weeks ago, and it's right on the water, and it's on the south side of town, am I right?
Yes, and the concept, and Commissioner Brault, he's our spearhead. He's the one that runs the project and heads it. Most of the concepts that you see there in the grand opening, and I'll let him address that because It's his project. We work with him trying to get issues cleared up. But for a long time, the town of Belville, if you asked where Belville was, everybody looked at you funny and said, well, I've never heard of it.
That's no longer the case.
That's no longer the case.
Yeah.
So we had something that had a natural beauty, something we could take that the townspeople could enjoy and put us on the map. That when people come to our area, they'd love to come down to the town of Belville.
Now, Mr. Commissioner, tell me how this idea first occurred to you.
Well, I drove by the waterfront for years, and I saw all that marshland and river frontage, and it wasn't being utilized. And I thought it would be a fantastic opportunity to educate people on the environment, to use it for a recreational facility, plus the fact that it's very rich in history. At one point, that river was the home of the third largest navy in the world. There were 460 Liberty ships tied up there.
I've seen those pictures.
Right, and then right across from the park is Eagle Island itself, which at one time was the largest revenue producer for the state of North Carolina, where it was all rice plantations. And there were 63 miles of rice plantation canal on that island. So when you put all the factors together, you have an ecological entity, you have an environmental entity, you have a historical entity, and I felt that we needed to put this all together into a concept that people could use. And we currently have what will be the largest publicly accessible waterfront on the entire length of the river, more than any other city in town, including Wilmington, publicly accessible. And that's our intent, to allow that to preserve the natural resources and yet give the public access to the natural resources and teach them in the process of what we're doing.
Right. Now, paint for our viewers a picture of what the park might look like 5 or 10 years from now.
Well, currently the park is 28 acres, and we have a 2,500 square foot observation deck that goes over the water, and we have a boat launch that we're working on having dredge to fulfill. Within the next 2 years, we'll have a 125-foot fishing pier going out into the river. We'll have another 1.5 miles of walking trail paralleling the river along the waterfront. We will have an educational pavilion that's being constructed with a grant from Duke Energy going up in the facility. And we will have a 730-foot-long waterfront boardwalk going over the marshes on the river, and that will culminate with another 1,800-square-foot observation deck at the end of that boardwalk, and then loop back to the start. That's the next 2 years. Within the next 5 years, we intend to carry that park across to the Battleship North Carolina Memorial, making that a 5-mile-long waterfront entity, which will make it one of the largest publicly accessible waterfront parks on the entire East Coast. And then within 20 years, we hope to develop that into a 25-mile closed-loop trail going from New Hanover County through Brunswick County and encompassing going down through Greenfield Lake, tying in the recreational aspect of Greenfield Lake, the commercial aspect of downtown Wilmington and its waterfront, the historical aspect of the Battleship North Carolina, the environmental and educational aspect of our park, across to Leland's Westgate Park, back down to Brunswick Forest and their golf course and their walking and biking trails, over to the Nature Park on Route 133, then back across the river as we build the Southern Cape Fear Bridge to either Independence Boulevard or Shipyard Boulevard, where they end up building the bridge, and tying back into the city Gary Cross Shell Trail and the Bikes to the Sea trails, making it a 25-mile closed-loop system. That's in the next 15, 20-year vision.
That's such an exciting picture that you've just painted with short-term, medium, and long-range plans all together. And your comments remind me that there are some commercial developments that are also a part of this. Can you tell me about that?
Well, as part of our park system and everything we're looking at, we wanted to complement the park. People coming in, where it's kayakers or people just want to walk down on the observation deck or bring their kids down to play in the park or just have a nice relaxing afternoon or evening, that we would put a restaurant there with a deck that overlooks the river so you could sit out and be comfortable and have a meal.
What about shops?
The shops, what we do, that's another part we want to complement. If you want to fish, we'll have a tackle shop. If you're a kayaker, we'll have a kayak shop there. Yeah. We may have a little ice cream shop for the kids to come in, as well as a place, with some of the artifacts that have been taken there. We also want a space that we'll have there to identify part of the historical portion of the Belville plantation that used to be there, as well as some of the Indian artifacts that were found, and those will be on display. Now,
each of you have mentioned the importance of history and culture. So there is an educational component to this. Tell me about that as
It
well.
goes further. What we're doing with the grant we received from Duke Energy is we plan on being able to integrate the entire K-12 science school curricula from the park. We'll take students from the classroom, bring them to the field, and do live training in the field. All of that training will be broadcast interactively over Wi-Fi and the county's network to all of the students throughout the entire 12,200 student school board system, which means if little Susie is in the field and she picks up a crab, Johnny in Bolivia or Pete in Shallotte could say, Susie, I want to see that crab, and she'll be able to pick it up and interactively talk about it to them. In addition to that, we've partnered with the North Carolina Division of Inland Marine Fisheries, the North Carolina Division of Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, the National Atmospheric and Oceanographic Agency, and a series of other state agencies and federal agencies, all of who are being extremely cooperative, and they are going to use the facility as part of their ongoing educational outreach programs. So we're transitioning our town to become an oasis of education, environmental awareness, recreation, and history for the entire region.
What a great vision. What a great vision. Now, we've been talking about the future. Let's step back a little bit, because I know just in recent months there have been a lot of activities in Belville. Tell us about those.
Well, a lot of activity. We had we reestablished our Founders Day, which now every year we'll have a Founders Day celebration. Another aspect of this that we're looking at, not only what we're doing, we've had more events in the park this year than has probably been accomplished over the last 10 years. And we want a place that people want to come. Not only our town, you know, it doesn't matter where it's in the town of Leland, Brunswick County, Wilmington, and working in conjunction with them. Give a place that people say, I want to go to Belville.
Well, I've been there several times in recent months, and I want our viewers to know that it's just a fabulous park. I hope they'll take the opportunity to go see it and get a real feel for what you're doing here in Belville.
We welcome everyone to come and enjoy the park. What we are doing as a very small town will benefit the surrounding cities, towns, and communities far more than it will our little town. We don't have room to grow.
Absolutely.
But we're looking to provide something for the future.
Gentlemen, it's just such a great story that you've had for us these past few minutes. Belville is on the move.
Well, we're on the map. We want to encourage people in our area and region in Brunswick County and our townspeople to come down and enjoy the beauty we have on the Brunswick River. They'll see me down in the park walking a lot of times, but a lot of this too, I want to thank all of our elected officials, whether state or federal. They have worked with us tremendously.
Absolutely.
And their input
it's
is
always a
pushing this
partnership,
along,
isn't it?
and it is a partnership.
Yep. Mayor Allen, Commissioner Theault, thank you both for being with us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. My guest is Mayor Walt Eccard. He is the mayor of Shallotte. And Mr. Mayor, thanks for being with us.
Jim, my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
You have a great story to tell about the progress in Shallotte, and a lot of it involves the Shallotte waterfront project. Am I right?
You're exactly right, Jim. In fact, we have two things going on that we're very excited about, and in a way they are really connected. The first thing we're doing, and I know there'll be a map to show this, we have 10 acres of land off Mulberry Street that we're developing into a park that we're going to open this coming spring.
Well, let's take them one at a time and talk about that, and paint for our viewers a picture of where it is and what you envision.
Absolutely. On Mulberry Street, as you're heading away from Main Street, it's on the right. It's about 10 acres of land, and it's right behind the line of businesses that are on that front Main Street. Mm-hmm. And in the park, as you come in, to the left will be where the farmers market will be relocated. And then as you proceed in a little bit further, there's going to be an amphitheater for a movie and concert series. Wow. And as you continue moving into the park, there's going to be a community garden and a playground. This is all in phase one, which will open in the spring. We are doing the park in multiple phases. Mm-hmm. And so we're very excited about that. We're excited about relocating our movie and concert series in our farmers market and providing a wonderful recreational facility and an event facility for the town.
Ample parking, of course.
Oh, yes, there'll be ample parking. And we're building a road that'll go from Mulberry Street back to Main Street. So it'll be very easy to get in and get out. Nice flow of traffic. And as you said, plenty of parking to accommodate all the different events we're going to have there. And then next year we'll do the phase 2, which will be putting in our walking trails, our picnic facilities, and so on. So it's an exciting project, and we're fortunate that the board on both these projects has been united and worked for many years to bring these to fruition. And only with the unity of the board have we been able to do this.
Right. Now that's the first aspect.
That's the first aspect,
All
right. Now, simultaneously with that, we're also working on, as you pointed out just a minute ago, the development of our waterfront.
Right.
And over the last 3 years, we have been fortunate enough to acquire a total of about between 20 and 25 acres of land that gives us almost 3,000 feet of waterfront.
Wow.
Where we're going to be building a river walk, and we're working with consultants on developing the best plan for this land. Where our goal is to return it to commercial activity, put it back in the tax base, benefit the taxpayers, and have a sort of a featured area of downtown for shopping and for walking along the water. If you walk along the water down there, it's between Wall and Cheer Street,
right,
all the way down to the water, and it includes land we just entered into a contract this week on with Gene Smith's property. And you walk down to the base of those two streets, and you look out and you see the waterfront. It's really magnificent, and we think it's going to be a real gem for the town of Shallotte.
So in my mind's eye, I could picture a walkway, a boardwalk of some sort.
We're right now working. It'll be probably because the land varies throughout all that frontage. It'll be probably different composite materials.
Sure.
But yes, it'll be a walkway all along the water.
And shops, perhaps a restaurant or so.
Yes, what we've done. We have gone through a demographic analysis of what the customer base is, what the town of Shallotte currently doesn't have in terms of commercial opportunities, and all that's being worked into a site plan. And we expect next summer to go out with a RFP, or for everybody, a request for proposals, for a master developer who will come in and buy all this land and then develop it pursuant to an agreement we have with them and a plan that we've approved.
Sure.
And you're right. We envision one or more restaurants and commercial shops. It's even conceivable on a portion of the property there might be townhouses or some residential.
That was going to be one of my questions, the
Yes.
residential aspect.
It looks like that there is a need for some additional residential area, and it's just a matter of completing that analysis. It's in the mix. And before we make any decisions, of course, in the spring we're going to go out for a series of public hearings to get the public input on what we think would be a good plan and make adjustments according to whatever they say.
Now, you're the historian, much more than I am on this, but am I correct in saying this very area of Shallotte is an area where history is its richest?
You're exactly right, Jim, and it's really for both projects. It's fascinating to me as a person who's moved into the area how important this area is historically. The waterfront,
right,
up to the early 1900s, was why Shallotte existed.
Correct.
Cargo came up and was unloaded there, and then the funny thing happened after the invention of the automobile. For those history students that are watching, Main Street got built, and we moved away from the waterfront. It's been virtually ignored for 100 years. And so returning it to the kind of the heartbeat of the town is really exciting. And as I talk to families who've been here for many generations, they're really excited about that.
And in fact, 100 or 125 years ago, virtually all commerce was by the sea.
Absolutely. You're exactly right, Jim. And so, and the park, which is across Main Street, is where a lot of the buildings were, where product was brought in and unloaded and then sorted for delivery to different places.
Right.
So the two of them tie together with that history of Shallotte And I think that's what makes this project particularly special.
Right. I want to take a look back and then we'll look forward for a moment. But tell me how all this began, who had some ideas, and a little background on how you got from there to here.
Absolutely. We started, believe it or not, about 7 years ago when we developed a vision plan as it involved the public in developing it. And our goal, we had a two-pronged goal. One was to improve the appearance of Main Street, and the second was to develop the waterfront as essentially a new part of the downtown. At that point, we didn't own any land, we just had a dream. And we had a plan, and we thought, well, if we have a good plan, maybe somebody will come in and build it for us.
First, you must have an idea and a vision, right?
Yeah. But the important thing of going through that effort was we got the community unified, saying, yes, we want to see this happen.
Right.
And the board at that time adopted it as, as the Shalotte's vision plan. Starting about 3 years ago, we got opportunities to buy select pieces of property between Wall and Cheer Street, and on a map that you can see the middle part of the land. And one by one, we acquired all that land south of Town Hall between the two streets. And we thought, well, that would be a good idea. We'll make a park, and then developers can come in and develop around us. Well, shortly thereafter, we had an opportunity to buy almost 5 acres of land behind, if people are familiar with the liquor store on Main Street, all the way down to the waterfront. That gave us our first waterfront, and so we, again, went through the process and did that. And finally, we had the opportunity to acquire the last missing piece, which is what we just signed a contract on this week. And up until this point, Jim, we had financed everything out of our surplus. This last piece we bought was $2.8 million. And we were very fortunate with our good friends at Brunswick Electric. They helped us acquire a $2 million loan with a 10-year term, 0% interest, and a 2-year principal deferral.
Wow.
So, which made it possible within our budgetary constraints to get this piece. So now we have the whole picture, if you will. And again, I think the viewers will see a map of all that land outline that we now have. And I encourage people, if they get a chance, drive down to the foot of Wall or
I've done that.
Cheer Street and look at
I've done that.
Yes, and it's really fun to see.
So it's happened piecemeal, but it's all falling together.
It is. It's just been remarkable the way we've gone from a vision with no property to a vision with all the property we need, and now making it a reality.
Mayor Walt Eccard, we thank you for being with us. We know that our viewers will have a great interest in this. Thanks for being with us again.
Jim, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Mine also. Thanks for joining us this month on Our Hometown. If you have a story that you'd like to share on a future show, visit us at atmctv.com to tell us about it. And thanks again for joining us. Tune in again next month as we explore more of our hometown.
ATMC TV works hard to bring you the best in local programming for Brunswick and Columbus counties. Our goal is to provide local programming that is interesting, informative, and entertaining to the residents of our area. ATMC TV also offers all their information at atmctv.com. Find out when your favorite shows are airing, watch current ATMC TV episodes, check the local bulletins, or even submit a public service announcement about your organization. Be sure to check us out on the web at atmctv.com.
The new ATMC Experience store in Shallotte is now open. Come in to check out our Try It Before You Buy It demonstration stations for digital cable TV, 100 meg broadband, and home security and automation services. Plus, we have a full line of wireless phones and accessories from AT&T. Whether you're ordering new services, paying your bill, or have questions, we're here to help Monday through Friday and Saturday too. The new ATMC Experience Store, Main Street in Shallotte beside Duffers.